Hi, welcome to another in the video series I'm doing, 12 Days of Painting. And today we're going to do something kind of Southwest flavored. So we're going to do this with just 3 colors. Let's get started. 3 colors we're using, everything's in your description. We're going to use phthalo blue, benzimidazzolone yellow or Hansa yellow. Just make sure it's a nice clear yellow that doesn't have any red or green in it. And quinacridone magenta. Everything's in your description, of course. Titanium white and glazing liquid to keep things wet. Now this painting today is loosely based on Shiprock, New Mexico. There's a really very interesting shape there, the Shiprock, and I'm just loosely basing this as I remember what Shiprock looks like. So what I'm going to do is take a paint pen, my Posca paint pen, and I'm just going to sketch how I remember Shiprock. Probably very different than it actually is, but that's kind of the shape. It has this funny shape, so I'm just going to kind of imagine that that is Shiprock. And then we're going to have a road. I don't know if there really is a road like this, but hey, you know what? I'm going to make it up as I go. That's what's so great about being a painter. You can kind of make it up as you go. So there's Shiprock, there's a road. We're going to have some kind of cactusy type stuff going on there. I'm trying to make these videos about 20 minutes or less so that you can do them and make gifts for your family and friends for the holidays. Let's start with our 3 colors. Phthalo blue, not going to need much of that. And Hansa yellow, going to need a fair amount of that. A little quin magenta for that Southwest kind of orange color that we love so much. Titanium white. And glazing liquid to keep things nice and juicy and workable while we're working. It probably looks like white, but it dries clear. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a kind of a turquoise, that great New Mexico turquoise sky that we all love so much. So we're going to start out with a little phthalo, go right into the titanium white and make this really vibrant blue. And then to get it to that turquoise color that we like, grab just a little bit of that benzimidazzolone yellow or Hansa yellow. This is why you want to make sure your yellow does not have any red in it, because you won't get a good green. So I'm going to make sort of a dark turquoise here. Let's go a little bit darker, a little bit greener rather. And let's grab some titanium white. Boy, that's New Mexico sky right there. That's it right there. Let's have it a little bit lighter. There we go. Nice, wonderful turquoise New Mexico sky. We're going to go kind of flat. I'm not really doing a whole lot of blending with this one. And you can see I'm just going right over my drawing. Actually, let's have a little more titanium white. Get it nice and juicy there. There we go. That is what I want. I want just like that gorgeous New Mexico sky. It looks like it goes forever. Okay. Just get that going nicely there. I'm kind of coming up over the sides of my drawing because I don't want things to look like cardboard. So I kind of try and blend right into the drawing. Okay, that's good. I am going to wash my brush and wipe it. It still has a little blue on it. Let's wash it one more time. That's good enough. Now, that was my number 10 brush. I'm going to go into my number 6 brush. And I am going to, actually I'm going to go back to my number 10. And I'm going to paint this whole area down here, kind of a nice orange. I'm just going to paint everything kind of that gorgeous kind of red dirt that that's all over New Mexico. Let's have a little more here, because I really want everything to have that, because it just glows underneath. Let's have a little more yellow. And you see, I'm making kind of a base color over here, but I'm also going back to my other colors and periodically changing things up a little bit, so it's not just a one note color, you know what I mean? So we just get those colors down on there. And it's going to be my mesa, my Shiprock Mesa is going to be that color also. So I'm going to go in here now. Where I hit the edges of that turquoise that I put down, it's going to go kind of a funky green or something. Don't worry about that, because we're going to come back. This is just our underpainting, so don't worry about that. I do want to get that really nice shape though. Just get that really nice shape. Even if it kind of blends into that turquoise, that's okay, because we're going to do stuff with that later. Okay, let's have some fun stuff over here. Over here as well. And you can see my orange is not all one color. So I'm going to my yellow, I'm going to my Quin Magenta, I'm pulling that in, and I'm letting those blend on the canvas. I want that guy to be just a little bit wider. Okay, so we're going to get all of this under here, and let's give this a little bit wider because it does have that kind of wide feel to it. And let's go like that. Just give it that wide feel. Okay, so we've got our underpainting in orange done. Rinse my brush a little bit. It doesn't have to be very clean, but now we're going to do a little bit of underpainting here, and we want that to be green, kind of a sage green. So get your green going down here. Put a little Quin Magenta into it. Oop, I went a little heavy with the Quin Magenta there, didn't I? Let's put a little more yellow into that. There we go, a nice muted green. You mix those three colors. See that kind of muddy green that I've got there? That's nice. So I'm just going to block that in here. We're just doing a little underpainting. And then we're going to let these underpaintings dry, and then we'll do round two. So I've just got basically three areas, teal or turquoise, orange, and green. And those are my underpainting areas. Let's make a little bit more of that green. Always mixing these three colors, and you don't really need anything but these three colors. So let me, whoops, went a little heavy on the phthalo blue there. That you got to watch that phthalo blue. It's pretty strong. And try not to leave any white space, because this gives us the basis for doing some really fun stuff on top. But you don't want any little white holes showing through. So just make sure you get all of those areas covered. I see a little spot right there. I see a couple of little spots in my orange area that didn't get covered. So I'll grab a little bit of my orange. Just hit those areas. Make sure I've got everything nice and covered. Good. Perfect. All right. We're going to come back now with layer 2 and really have fun with this. Let everything dry. So we're going to take a 5-minute drying break and we'll be back. Okay, we've let everything dry, which is just what we needed to do. Now let's have some fun and layer on some colors on top. I'm going to switch to my number 6 round, and I'm going to put a couple of trees here. So I'll make a green. Let's go into our yellow. I'm going to come down here to that kind of muddy green I made earlier. Grab a tiny bit of that phthalo, make a green. Let's mute it down a little bit. So I'm going to grab a tiny quin magenta, not too much, a little bit more. There. Now we've got a nice kind of brown green. All right, so let's put a couple of trees here. I'm just going to make a couple of little ideas about where trees would be. Now, before I go and paint in those trees, I'm going to go into my hill here and I'm going to give it some interesting texture. So I'm going into my quin magenta. I'm going to go into that green that I just made, grab a little of the yellow, and I'm looking for kind of muddy orange colors. So let's grab a tiny bit of phthalo blue and bring it over here. So I've got kind of these different muddy orange and quin magentas. Just going to layer those here. Let a little bit of that little bit brighter underpainting show through. Go ahead and break that contour line at the top so that it doesn't look like a cardboard cutout. Pick up a little bit of that green that I made. I'm just layering these different colors to kind of give that mesa some texture. Going to go right over those tree shapes that I made. I made those a little bit too early. I got excited about making the trees. We'll come back and we'll do trees in just a minute. Grabbing a little quin magenta, go into that green. Let's get a little bit more Hansa yellow. And you'll see I'm just kind of making all these different kind of muddy colors. That's what we want. Make some a little darker, some a little lighter. Let's get a little bit of that phthalo blue and a little bit quin magenta. Just want some darker and some lighter. And I'm really just kind of dabbing with my brush. So I'm just dabbing, right? If it gets too dark, you can always come back to your brighter colors, lay them in. Let's get a little bit more of that quin magenta. And see how that layering those different colors, how it kind of gives that mesa some texture. Now I'm breaking the contour line of the mesa with my brush just a little bit. I'm just taking a little bit of paint every once in a while and just kind of breaking that line so it doesn't look like a cardboard cutout. Let the edges of that be rough. If you've ever been into the Southwest, New Mexico, Arizona, you'll know that those mesas and those hills they don't have smooth edges, they're rough. So make sure that you don't make them look like cardboard. Okay, that is looking pretty good. I've got some fun stuff going on there with my mesa. It looks rocky, it has texture, and that's what we wanted. Alrighty, now let's have some fun with the foliage. I'll put my trees back in. I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm not even going to put it in the water, but I'm going to grab a little phthalo blue down here, some Hansa. That's really a bright green, so let's muddy it up. Over here, let's get a little quin magenta. I haven't used any glazing liquid in this painting, which is unusual for me, but I really didn't want anything to get too juicy. So that glazing liquid will keep stuff wet, but sometimes you don't want it that wet. You want, especially here we are, we're painting the Southwest, maybe we want things a little drier. So let's put a couple trees in, just use your brush. They're kind of in the distance, so you don't have to make them too defined. I'm going to put a little titanium white in this so that you can see it against that mesa, but that gives it that nice kind of sage look. Here's another one over here. This one will make this one a little bit darker. There we go. And see, they're not that defined. They're off in the distance. So you're not trying to paint every leaf and every little tiny thing. Let them be just off in the distance. Okay, along the bottom of this mesa here, let's have some foliage. I'll get my phthalo, and it looks like I'm running out of Hansa, so let's put a little more Hansa out down here. And a little Quin Magenta. So I've got a bunch of different mixtures of green down here. And I'm just going to come along the back here. Let's get a little bit more yellow, a little bit brighter. Just let your brush pat that brush. I'll show you what I mean here. I'm just kind of patting, you know, just letting my brush pat, and that will make those nice brush strokes. Let's get a little bit lighter back here. It looks a little too dark. Grab a tiny bit of that titanium white, not too much. You don't want it to be too bright. Okay, so we're just making these green shapes back in the back there. It looks like I might have got a little bit too light there, but we'll fix that. Let's get a little bit more dark green. Now I'm going to start building up all these different kinds of greens and whatnot here. I'm just patting with my brush all these greens. And I'm even going to turn my brush sideways so that I get a little bit different shape. I'm leaving lots of airspace because I'm going to come back with some pinks and some blues and some lavenders because those colors are on the desert. You see those colors all over the desert. It's not just green sage. Okay. Let's get a little bit more of that green. Our road looks pretty good. So now I'm going to wash my brush, wipe it. Even if it has a little bit of color on it, that's all right. Now I'm going to make some pinks and blues and whatnot. So let's come down here, little Quin Magenta, titanium white. Got that going. I'm going to grab a little tiny bit of phthalo blue and put it over here, and a little Quin Magenta into that so that I have a kind of purple happening here. Let's get a little bit of our titanium and put it down there so I can have that. Now I'm going to dry my brush. Important to dry your brush because you don't want too much paint. It'll make a mess. A little bit of pink. Get a little bit of pink on my brush. And I'm just going to go in here in a couple of different places. Just the way you might see it out on the desert. If it feels like you're getting too much pink, just go back into your green. Put a little bit of that yellow in there. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of my purple, which is almost trying to dry up on me, so let's get a little glazing liquid in that. That might be a little bit too dark. Let's put a little titanium white into it. Kind of a gray purple here. That's kind of nice. A little bit over here. Just touching that with my paintbrush, just the tip of my paintbrush, really. Okay, I think I went a little heavy on the pink on this side. I'm going to put a little bit of pink over here. And I went a little heavy on the pink over here, so I'm going to go grab a little bit of my green. Knock back some of that pink. so it's not quite so busy. And there we have it. I think that works pretty well for our desert. We got a nice mesa there, and we've got that great orange dirt road that you see in New Mexico, those wonderful dirt orange roads out in the desert. They're so beautiful. And there's our mesa. Okay, that is another in the 12 days of painting, another little 20-minute painting that you can do for family or friends as a gift. And I hope you enjoyed that. Remember what I always say, catch me in the next video and keep on painting.